Hello, happy Monday, everyone. How are you today? My name is Lori Moody. I'm going to be with you guys for the next hour or so. Before we get started, let's just go through a little housekeeping in case this is your first time joining in with us. So we'd love to have everyone on camera if you can, because it helps us all feel included in this process. And because we're going to get to know each other, believe it or not, over the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to get to a point in the call today where we're going to do a little bit of chatting with each other. And we ask that when you do that, make sure that you're not driving. So if you are on the road and tuning in, that's great, but pull over to the side if you'd like to chat with us or ask a question. Okay, that way you are safe. And speaking of asking questions, there's a button at the bottom that says raise hand. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, if you go down to reactions, there's a little heart symbol. It says react. And if you click on that drop down arrow there, you're going to see an option to raise your electronic hand. So that's really helpful as well. But I'm really, really excited to be here with you. I'm curious, you can raise your real hand if you'd like, or you can type yes or no in the chat. But how many of you, this is your first experience with WildFit ever? Do we have any brand new newbies here? Awesome. I love that. Welcome, welcome. It's such an incredible program. And there's so many wonderful people that you're going to meet. So I'm really happy and excited for you. I want to introduce myself because some of you may not know me, but my name is Lori Moody. And I have been a master coach for the last couple of years. I've been with WildFit for about 5 years. I first did my own challenge with WildFit back in 2019. And I immediately loved it. And when I completed the challenge, I said, I need to coach this. I need to become a coach to help my clients. And so, for those of you who don't know me, I used to be a massage therapist and a fitness instructor. And I did this career for over 20 years. And I can tell you that I have tried every single diet there is. And I absolutely love fitness. Thank goodness, because a lot of people don't naturally enjoy fitness. I did, but I can tell you, it never took the pounds away. It never did until I found WildFit. That changed my whole concept of nutrition. And I had already started to learn a lot about nutrition, but with my training as a fitness instructor, we were taught calories in, calories out. How many of you tried that? The whole, let me count how many calories I've eaten. Let me, be a slave to the exercise machines and let me count how many calories I've burned on the treadmill or on the bicycle or out for a run, right? And I can remember coming back from marathon training being so hungry that I would eat like an entire pizza myself. And I thought, well, what good did that do? Right? Like I just went out for a run and then here I came back home and I ate an entire pizza myself because I was only thinking about calories in and calories out. And then as I grew in my career and in my personal growth, I started learning more because I started having issues. Like I started with IBS. Has anybody had any digestive issues? I had IBS. I had migraine headaches. I had the weight gain that I couldn't get rid of no matter how much I exercised. And I said, I need to look at something else. And I started to notice all these different things that I could think about as far as food goes. So then I started eating gluten-free. And I did the South Beach diet. And I did Weight Watchers. And I did all kinds of other things. I can't even remember them all, but I did them all, I swear. And they all worked for a very short period of time. But when I stopped doing the things, the weight would come back. And it was exhausting, you guys. It was exhausting. I was always on the hunt for a calorie counting app on my phone. I would carry, like in the beginning, I'd carry the old school little tiny little wire bound notebooks in my purse with a pen, and I would write everything down. It was so, so exhausting. And I finally got to the point where I was in physical pain. I had arthritis in both of my knees. The debilitating headaches were just too much to bear, and it was starting to affect my job. I had injuries that I couldn't work through, so I had to scale back on some of my classes. And I can tell you that I was the owner, operator of my own fitness center, and I live in a very small town. So it was very hard to get people to come work for me. Not only could I not afford to, but nobody wanted to drive out to my little town to make $20, right, to teach a fitness class, because my clients were only paying $5 a fitness class. Can you imagine paying $5 a fitness class for a 60-minute fitness class? So I felt like I was up against the wall. I felt like I was trying to do this good thing for clients, but a lot of people weren't coming, they weren't showing up, and it became a passion project. So I ended up working 5 a.m. in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, doing massages in between morning and night exercises. And I was doing this for minimal money, and I was basically not making any money. I thought, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for my community, and it just feels like it's killing me. It's like, what do they call that? Death by a thousand cuts, right? Like it felt so excruciating physically, it felt heartbreaking emotionally, and mentally I was just over it, right? Like I couldn't think anymore. And when COVID happened, it forced us to shut down. As many of you probably remember, things were shut down. And I thought, this is the time I need to reevaluate myself. I had great success with WildFit myself. I completely changed the way that I think about food. I completely changed the way I feel about food. I started to eat better, foods that I knew were good for me, not for someone else, but for me. And I had such incredible physical transformation that teaching 10 1-hour exercise classes a week couldn't even touch. So I ended up losing about 20 pounds. I no longer had the pain I still had arthritis, don't get me wrong, but the pain that was associated with the arthritis in my knuckles, in my elbows, and in my knees, the pain associated with that started to diminish. The inflammation went down. And I couldn't believe the amount of energy I had. I used to come home for a lunch break in between massage appointments, and I'd fall asleep on the sofa. So much that I had to start setting a timer because I might not wake up in time to make it back to the studio for my next massage appointment. I started to not need the timer. I started noticing, oh my gosh, like really feel amazing. Like I feel like I just aged backwards. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And it was all because I changed my relationship with food. It wasn't the exercise, it wasn't anything else but my mindset and changing the way I approached nutrition. So I'm really, really happy that you're here, because these first 2 weeks are the foundation for anything that you do in the future. Without these 2 weeks, anything that you do in the future is just going to be another diet, right? It's going to be another zone diet. It's going to be another Weight Watchers program. It's going to be another calories in, calories out. But what we're doing is doing things differently. We are changing the way we think and feel about our personal habits with food, our personal beliefs with food, our thoughts about food. It's going to be amazing. And I'm really, really happy if this is your first time. I'm really happy that I get to share this with you, because I absolutely love these first 2 weeks. Just seeing the light bulb moments in everyone's eyes is something that every coach enjoys, because we know that you're going to get it now and that things for you are going to become easier and easier as you go forward. I'm curious if you guys can let me know in the chat, what kind of diets have you guys tried in the past? I'm just curious. Just go ahead and put those in the chat. I used to, while you're doing that, while I'm waiting for your responses, I used to have a little bit of nutritional support for my fitness clients. And I had this little bookcase at my studio, and I had every diet in there. And at first I thought there was like a book on every diet. And at first I thought, wow, what a great resource I have for my clients. Like, this is really cool. Well done, Lori. Like I was so proud of myself that I offered that to my clients. And as the years went by, and after I'd gone through the WildFit Challenge, I looked at that bookshelf and I thought, wow, what is the problem with this? Like, this was really eye-opening that there were that many different types of diets and opinions and do this and do that. And none of them really worked long term. So I thought, this is really kind of scary. And I thought this whole view of all these books and resources just did a 180. Like I thought, I'm going to get rid of those. And so then I took them all off the shelf, because that's when I became a WildFit coach and I realized, no, it's just the fundamentals. It's the fundamentals that we've missed along the way, right? Oh, here we go. So carnivore, intermittent fasting, eating once a day. Okay, cool. Whole30, Weight Watchers. Okay, and we've got an alumni that's done the 90-day challenge. Yes, amazing. Weight Watchers, low calorie intake, a lot of Weight Watchers. Yeah. Awesome. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with the fact that you reached out to try those, because I don't want this to be about guilt. I don't want us to have shame for needing help in this department, because quite frankly, everyone does. We're all the same, but there often is a lot of shame involved in this. Like, I can remember some of my clients coming up to me at the desk and they'd say, "Can I borrow your book on such and such?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And I used to have like a sign out sheet, and I could see the hesitation that they were like doing this after everyone left the fitness class and they were coming up and asking for this. And I see it so often now too, like people reaching out to me in private, that, there's so much shame around reaching out for help about nutrition. And I really just want to let that go, because we are all in the same boat. Every time I get a new class started, I ask people, how many of you tried this, or how many of you felt this? Almost every time, everyone raises their hand. So I think it's important that we're all here to support each other, and really just understand that we are in the same boat and we can rely on each other, right? We can have partners in this, because that's what makes it a little bit easier. That's what helps us when we have those tough days, is that we know that other people, oh, wait a minute, I've got something popping up here. No, I'm not speaking Italian. Zoom just wanted me to confirm my speaking language. It thinks I'm speaking Italian. Oh, if my grandfather heard that, he would love that. But no. Okay, sorry about that. It popped up and I thought, what is that? I've never seen that before. So yeah, I just really want to lose that shame and that guilt, and just recognize that we're all here together trying to create better health, right? Can we all agree that there's no shame in wanting better health? And that might look like, losing a few pounds. It might look like, increasing your energy, or changing your physique, or, getting out of a situation where you're in pain every day. So we all have different reasons for being here, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could all just let go of the shame and the guilt? I think that would be incredible. So let's dive into the Food Freedom Challenge. And what I want to share with you about the Food Freedom Challenge, and I've mentioned this already, but it is the foundation of all success, whether you have success in your health, your career, in your relationships, in your community. When we are nutritionally sound, then everything else gets a little bit easier. This foundation is going to set you up for success. We're going to create an environment where you can't fail. You can't fail. So, what I want to ask from you guys is, I want to check in with you a little bit on what are some of the foods that you feel like the food controls you. And so let me explain that. If you're not quite sure, what does that really mean? The food controls me. It's that, let's say you're 1 week into a diet right? Like whether it's Weight Watchers or the Zone Diet, let's use Weight Watchers for an example, right? You've got your points. Mine was 21. I could have 21 points. I remember that. And I can remember thinking, well, if I eat this, I check the point system, right? If I eat this, then, and let's say it's a Snickers bar, it's X amount of points. It would leave me with the certain amount of points for the rest of the day. Remember that? And I thought, wow, that's an awful lot of points I'm going to blow on this Snickers bar. I'm going to have to eat nothing but salad for the rest of the day. And back then, I hated salads. Oh my God, did I hate salads? Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I didn't really hate salads. Hate's a strong word, but I didn't like making them myself. If I was in a restaurant, I would love a salad. I always ate a salad if it came with my meal. But when I was at home, ugh, who could be bothered? Who could be bothered with making a salad? You got to shred the lettuce or at least break it apart. You got to chop some onions, tomatoes, and if I tried it at home, it would be the most pathetic salad because I wouldn't take the time to chop stuff. So I really thought I'm just going to have this Snickers bar. I'll worry about that later. Right. So that Snickers bar, even knowing that I was going to have to make this time consuming salad afterwards, it still would not make me think twice about the Snickers bar. I would have the darn Snickers bar. So the Snickers bar became this thing that I couldn't turn down. And every time I'd go to Lowe's, or, do you guys have a home improvement store that has all the candy at the cash register, right? Like I couldn't leave Home Depot or Lowe's without buying a Snickers bar. So this became this regular occurrence for me. I had no freedom around a Snickers bar. That food controlled me. Not that it's food, but that Snickers bar controlled me. So I'm curious, what do you have in your life that controls you, that you have such a hard time turning away from? That no matter what, sugary stuff, especially chocolate. Yeah, and what I'm curious about too is it any old chocolate or is it a special brand or a special type? Wine, okay. Is it wine under certain circumstances or is it just wine anytime? Think about this a little bit longer. And if you're starting to get the wheels turning, put that in the chat too. Because like for some people, they'll say it's wine when I'm social. Like I just can't not have wine if my friends are around having it too. There's other people that will say, I can't imagine coming home from work and not having a glass of wine to unwind. Right. So see if you can start to notice the circumstances around these things or the brands, right? What else have we got? Ferrero. Is that in Ferrero Rocher? Those are the chocolates. Yeah, Kit Kats. Okay. Good. Get real specific with this, guys. This is fabulous. Milk chocolate. Yeah. I know most people like milk chocolate better than dark chocolate, don't they? It's got more of that sugar. It's less bitter, more sweet. This is great, you guys. So with this foundation that we're going to be working together on over the next 2 weeks, you're going to start to really understand that relationship right there. That one you're thinking about right now that you didn't put in the chat. Or the ones and the ones, of course, that you put in the chat. We're going to start to understand that. Why is that such an attachment for me? Why can't I take over control of this food? Why can't I have a healthier relationship with food? Right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about mindset shifts. We're going to talk about our dialogue, like the things that we tell ourselves. Because you know what I used to say to myself? Can any of you guess? Take a stab at what you think I used to tell myself all the time. Yeah, stress and unwinding is a big one for our foods. I used to tell myself, worry. You teach 10 exercise classes a week. You can eat anything you want. I'll be better tomorrow. Yeah. How many of you guys said that? What else have you said? I'll be better tomorrow. Has anyone said, well, it's early in the day. I can make up for it later today, right? Maybe I'll go for a walk afterwards. I used to say, I'll burn it off tomorrow. And you know what else? It wasn't even just me saying all those things. Yeah, small portion won't hurt. Yes. Yep, I was good all day. There's the reward. I was good all day. Yep. So think of these things. This is part of our dialogue, and we're going to talk so much about our dialogue, but these are the things that we tell ourselves, and they happen so fast. You guys, I'm telling you, when you think this, we're going to slow down time like you're in a slow motion movie, because this happens so fast. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're saying these things to ourselves. But I want to tell you that we do. We tell these things to ourselves all the time. And other people say it too. Just think about it, especially when you're in social situations. I know that for me, everybody used to be my facilitator in eating junk food or drinking alcohol. They used to say, oh, come on, Lori, you're in the best shape of your life. You exercise so much, don't worry about it. Little bit won't hurt, right? Everything in moderation. Got to have fun once in a while, right? Are these all things? People used to say that to me all the time. And I'd be like, yeah, I do exercise a lot. Darn it. Yeah, I bust my ass all day long, 6 days a week. I got all the injuries to prove it, like I believed them. So it strengthened hearing other people say things to me, encouraging me to have these things. It strengthened that voice inside me that said, yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And as I was starting to find out that it really did matter, I had to flex the other muscle. I had to stop flexing that muscle. I had to start flexing the other muscle that said, you know better than that. Right? Because we all know, right? We're not here to hear anything new. We all know what we should and shouldn't be doing. It's following through is where we get stuck. And that's where this 2 weeks is going to give you the tools so that you will start to follow through. Because when you start following through, you're going to be so proud of yourself. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel like you just ran a marathon. And you won't have to work that hard. I promise you won't have to work that hard. Yes, everything in moderation. That's always a big one, isn't it? I would love to be able to eat chocolate in moderation, but only works if I don't have it at home. We're going to help you change that. I can tell you, I have a pie in my freezer right now that's been in there since December. My mom made a pie. Yes. And we didn't eat it all at Christmas. And it's my favorite pie. And it's gluten-free. There's lots of wins there that I could have justified having some of that. 100%. Oh, it's healthy pie. It's homemade. My mom is an incredible baker. I'll probably end up telling stories about her through our 2 weeks. But I had every reason that I could have had that. I have a healthy relationship with pie now. I don't eat the entire pie now. I can just be satisfied with one piece. But you know what? The temptation is not there like it used to be. That's not to say that I don't eat pie. It doesn't control me. Now I control it. Wouldn't that be amazing? If you could control that chocolate, that wine, if you ate it because you wanted to eat it and you savored every little tiny nibble of that or every tiny little sip, right? Like what if when you were drinking your wine, it took you a while to get through one glass, much longer than maybe it did before, because you enjoyed it so much more and you started to notice all the different parts of the wine or all the different textures, especially with the chocolate, right? Because that's what it means to eat consciously, drink consciously, and mindfully. And that's what we're after. Is not that you can never have wine or you can never have chocolate or apple pie. It's to have it on your terms. That's what we're after. So, let me just do a quick little kind of like just to take a pulse on where you guys are at. How many of you watched the video this morning from Eric in your Food Freedom Challenge dashboard? Okay, fantastic. For those of you who haven't watched it yet, you'll definitely want to go in there and check that out. And he talks a lot about this foundation that we're going to be focusing on this next couple of weeks. And before we end the call, I am going to kind of recap for you where you're at, but I don't want you to just take my recap. I want you to go and watch that. It's really powerful. And I think it's only like 15 or 20 minutes. It's not super long. So you can always speed it up too a little bit. Don't speed it up too much. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. So you want to make sure that you can hear it and absorb it. Okay. It didn't come around yet. Okay. Awesome. Yes, you'll get to it. Amazing. So what I want to know from you guys, and I would like to take turns, go around and get to know you guys a little bit better. I would love to know if you could introduce yourself. Let us know where you are and let us know what is your reason for being here, right? Because our why has to be really strong. And I know, and let me just give you this little hint, a little tip for sharing your why. Or how many of you know your why already? I know you probably heard a lot of people talk about this. Like, what is their why? It seems like coaches always ask that, right? So are you guys a little unsure of what your why is? Maybe a little bit? Okay. So before we open it up to introductions and questions, let's talk about what our why is. So a lot of us have a very basic, superficial why for being here. When I found WildFit, I can tell you 100% my why was to lose weight. 100% that was my reason why. And when I was asked this question, I'm like, yeah, I want to lose weight. And then I was asked, why do you want to lose weight? That was a tough one. I had to think about it. And my first reaction after that question was, well, because I want to fit into my clothes better. Why do I want to fit into my clothes better? Well, kind of feels embarrassing to have a little pudge over my waistline, especially since I'm a fitness instructor. Why does that make me feel funny? Well, because I think people expect more from me. I think they put me as someone to be inspired by. I think that they hold me to a higher standard, or maybe I hold me to a higher standard. But why would the way I look have any difference in what I do for my clients? I had wonderful clients that praised me all the time and how they loved my fitness classes, and they were so happy that I was there. The few people that I had, but we had a great connection and I made awesome friends. Why did I let the way I look make me think that I wasn't adequate as a fitness instructor? Funny, this has come up before. I always kind of felt inadequate in other areas of my life. Wow. Now I'm remembering when I was in high school. Oh my gosh, flashback to my old boyfriend who was so smart in high school, so much smarter than me, when he asked me what I got on my SAT exams. Like, I was so nervous. Right? And then flashback to growing up as a young child, I looked so much different than all of my friends. I grew up in a little town in New York, and it was all these Italian families. And my family was Italian too, but we had blonde hair and blue eyes when I was little. All my friends had dark hair and dark eyes, dark skin, and I was a little bit more fair. I looked so different. And I thought, wow, That little question opened up a lot. So I thought to myself, wow, I thought my why was to lose weight, but now I'm realizing my why is really so I can feel like I want to fit in. Like I can be seen as an expert in my field. That people can find that I'm an inspiration to them. So when we think about our why, there's going to be superficial things that come up, and that's okay. There is absolutely no shame in that, none whatsoever. But what's really important is that we also understand the reason for that superficial desire, right? Because that is the root of it. And that's how we're different. Getting to the root of what are we wanting for ourselves? Because once we know that, then when the challenge gets a little harder and we have to do a little more work, the desire to follow through is going to be bigger because it's now at the core of our being. It's not just about fitting into, a size 4 or whatever jean. It's now at the core of our being. So we've got more invested in this. We're more likely to follow through. And I'm telling you right now, if you do this, if you give yourself that opportunity, that gift of discovering you, whole new world will be available to you. Things that you never thought would be possible will be available to you. So now, does anyone have an idea of their why? And it might not come right away. It might take you some time to really ponder this, So we'll have those superficial whys, and I want to share those today because they're important as well, because that's the steps that we need to take to get down to the bottom level, right? To get down to the root. Does that make sense to everybody? Can you kind of understand how one superficial why or desire can really kind of lead down this path to where our true desire is? I hope that makes sense. Okay. So how are we doing for time? Oh, we're doing good. Okay, great. So let's get to know each other. If you can raise your electronic hand, and that's helpful for me because it kind of puts you in a queue. And then we'll get to be able to chat with each other and talk about our why. And I can help you find your why if you're not really sure. We can chat about this. And I'll give you a second to raise your hand. And hey, Nicole.
Hi. So
Hi.
sorry, I have COVID, so I'm in bed, so I'm not going to put my camera on. So
Oh, sorry, but thank you for joining us.
thank you. Yes. So my thank you. My reason why I believe is I did the 90-day challenge last year, and I friggin' loved it. I felt amazing. I kept it up pretty kept it up until the holidays. And then I live in LA right now. So hi, I'm Nicole. I live in LA. I'm currently from London. And I'm an actress and a stage manager, and I've been in LA for 31 years. But I went home last year for the holidays, and when I came back, I just never got back on track with it. Excuse me. And now I wanted to do it again. And I've tried to do it on my own, like go back to spring and go back to like summer and all that. But I haven't been able to stick with it. So that's my why this time around.
Amazing. First of all, congratulations, because even though you say you haven't been able to stick with it, I bet you that you are still way ahead of where you were prior to Wild Fit Altogether. Right?
Yeah, I still do the green drinks intermittently. I don't do them all the time, but I do. When I do them, I might do like 2 weeks in a row, and then I'll stop because of time or something's going on with my schedule. So yeah, Um, so those things, yes, and I am more conscious of what I'm putting in my body and when I'm putting it in my body and stuff like that for sure. But that feeling of that when I was in spring and how light and free and everything I was amazing.
Yeah.
And I originally I did do it. Excuse me. Originally I did do it because of for weight loss. Um, and yeah, and I lost 14 pounds, and I've pretty much been able to keep it off, which has been great as well.
Yay. See,
Oh,
that's amazing. That really
thank
is.
you.
Thank you so much for being honest and sharing that. Because how many of you have ever been doing really, really well on any exercise or nutrition program before? It doesn't have to necessarily be this, but think back to any of those other situations and you were doing so good. And then you had some life event happen, whether it was something devastating or something extremely positive, like going back home and being with family, especially on the holidays. How many of you felt like when you came back after that event, you kind of lost your mojo? Right? Has anybody have that happen? Yeah, it's normal because there's a little change in our schedule. And not only that, the big thing though is it changed something in our psychology through our emotions. We kind of got caught up in our emotions. Our emotions are really strong and powerful, right? And this is, I want to share something too that I just heard today, that emotions are like just a chemical reaction in our body, and they're typically gone within 90 seconds. But they are so powerful that it can get us to change our routine. Isn't that crazy? But we have tools that we can use to help us get back on track. And as you just heard, she's not completely off track, right? Nicole's not completely off track. She's still having an amazing green drink, which we'll talk about in the future, but she's having this amazing green drink and she is more aware of what she's putting into her body, right? So these are huge, huge steps. So we'll just have to fine tune things to feel a little more on track and get back to her old routine. And this is also important to know that routines can ebb and flow, right? Because life isn't meant to be very structured. So it's okay for routines to ebb and flow. That's life. Nature would have done that to us anyway, right? We have so much more control now, but really life isn't that way at all. If you think back to our oldest ancestors, before there was ever a thing called, farming and grocery stores and food preservation, it was just us hunting and gathering. We would have had no way to really preserve food or to save it. And we certainly wouldn't have rationed it, right? So Mother Nature would have forced us to ebb and flow. So it's okay that this happens. Just recognize that this is very natural. And especially for us in today's world, our emotions can definitely hijack our plans to eat healthy, especially when our emotions are tied with memories and family memories, right? So over the holidays is when we start reminiscing. Even if you don't come right out and reminisce, literally, it's still the whole atmosphere of a holiday. And especially if you don't live in your hometown anymore. So Nicole had the perfect storm, right? She doesn't live there anymore. She's been out of the country for a while. It was the holidays, right? So it's normal for these things to happen. But with the sense of having a community and like-minded people around you, we can get right back on track. And the best way to do that is as soon as possible, because it's so much easier to get yourself back on track right away than it is if you let more time pass. So Nicole, thank you for being here, because might be just what you need to get yourself back on track the way that you want to be. You're not that far off by the sounds of it. But think about this too. think about it. Have you guys ever been on a plane and the plane is supposed to land at your destination at a certain time, but the pilot comes on and says that we need to reroute because maybe the runway isn't ready for you yet or something, and they get a little off course, right? Wouldn't it be a lot faster if the plane only went off course a little bit and then corrected right away rather than go all the way around? If you can course correct quickly, then you're not that far off. You might just make your connection, right? If you've got a connection after that, you might make your connection because they're course correcting right away. But if they don't, you might miss the connection, right? So think about that. Course correcting right away. It's okay, drop the guilt, but understand and learn from things. But course correcting right away can definitely help get you back on track. And I'm so glad that you're here, Nicole, because that's what you're doing. You're in a course correct right now. Thank you for sharing that. All righty. And who would like to share what your why is? And if you're not comfortable coming on camera, you can put your why in the chat if you'd like. Oh, okay. So I'm probably not going to say your name properly. Can you? Is it is it Wafa?
Hi, it's Wafa.
Wafa. Oh, that I was going to say
Wafa.
it. Now, I might be wrong. Wafa, nice to meet
No.
you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Lori. Nice to meet you too. I'm Lebanese. I live in Lebanon, Beirut, and I'm so happy to be among the group. In fact, I have undertaken the challenge, the 90 days challenge in 2023. Late at the end of the year, it was like from September to December. I was able. I mean, I got really a lot of gains out of this challenge. Concerning sleeping well, the light skin, the energy, all this, I really got rid of a lot of bad habits in dining and the things like that. But I lost a lot of weight, actually. I don't know. I mean, I had during this challenge period a lot of travels, and I was not really getting the good meals that I should to compensate what we have stopped. So this was really something that affected my weight, which was not really an objective behind joining the program or the challenge. Then I stopped, and then I kept on the things that I got rid of, like the dairy products and the less wine, less sweets, some more healthy food, etc. Until we got this war in Lebanon, and I had to travel again, and then I went back to the old habits, which is really, I mean, it took me out of track. I joined this a challenge because I want really to be on the right track again. I want to I want to be healthy more. I want to be really help people around to convince them more, because we have a lot of pressure around us coming from other people when we talk about this program. And this is one of the challenges. They are not very much convinced of what we do, and they say, no, this is you are losing a lot of weight, you have to take the full dietary guidelines, which is the food guide pyramid or things like that. You can't stop this, you can't stop that. Daily food is very healthy, and other things. So in any case, I felt I need to enrich my more, I mean, to get more not justification, but evidence more about the importance of the Wild Fit program and how really we can convince others around us and also stay on the right track from our side.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so important that, especially when we want to share with other people, it's important that we demonstrate, share by leading, right? And so that's what you're here for, which is incredible. You are going to go through this again to not only sharpen your skills and your tools, but maybe to go a little deeper in your own personal journey. And when you lead by example, people will start to see, oh, that does work, right? And not to get too far ahead, when we are dealing with people who have comments, they're always going to have comments, right? The diet and fitness industry together, I say I included fitness in that because that's where I come from. They're so similar. There's always going to be people who say, this is the way to do it. No, this is the way to do it. It's like when I was sharing all those books, how I was sharing about how I thought it was such a great resource to offer my clients because there were so many books on dieting. But then I thought, that's so strange. There's so many books on dieting. Like, that's actually not a good thing. Like, what is wrong with this whole message that we need to follow these certain programs? And each one says that that's the one to do, right? And what I love about WildFit is that we're not a diet. We're guiding people back to the basics, the foundation of health that our DNA has adapted to. And that's where we can be our best self, our most healthiest self, living optimal health. And what I like to say to people who might question what we're doing, I just like to ask them, how do you perceive eating, processed foods as being bad? Like, what we're doing here is eating food from nature. How is that bad? And most people, they want to put you in a box. They would rather put you in a box, like, no, you have to follow this diet and count these macros and, do this and do that. And it's like, wait a minute, we're stripping all of that away. We're not counting calories. We're not counting macros. We're not giving up a major food group, right? We're not giving up a major food group. We're just thinking fundamentally, how did our bodies, how were they designed to eat back in our oldest ancestral days? They ate off the earth. And that's what we do in WildFit. But at the basis of that is our psychology. Now, I'll admit, back then in the oldest ancestral days, they didn't really have to do the psychological work that we have to do because they didn't live in that kind of environment, right? Like, we have to do this psychological work because of the modern world we live in. We have to try to override some things because otherwise we would all be living this standard American diet, So I think that's amazing that you're here for a second round and to really sharpen your tools. And I 100% think this is the place to be. I often have clients that come through the program to learn a little bit deeper. And I say, start off with the first 2 weeks, take that food freedom challenge, because that is where our psychological, our thoughts, our beliefs, it all stems, all of our choices stem from that. So I think we have to master this first, and it'll be an ongoing process, of course. As long as we're alive, we're all going to be on a health journey. But this ongoing process of digging deeper psychologically and really dissecting our habits, that there's so much that can be learned from that. And as we move forward, the food, we'll talk about that, but that's just on the surface. It's this that's important. So I love that you're sharing that the outside world is quite noisy. And thank you for bringing that up, because I talk about that a lot with my clients too, because I'm very passionate about not falling into that diet mentality trap and leaving the guilt and the shame behind. But today's modern world, we do have to think about that, because there's so much noise out there to confuse us. People have misconceptions of what this program is because they want to put us in a box. They want to say, well, you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this. And I think until you come through the program, you realize, wow, they've got it all wrong. We've got it right, because we're focusing on how we think and feel about food. And then we talk about the actual food and we strip it down to the basics. which is what our bodies need, because so many people in the world are walking around dehydrated, malnourished. They're overfed, trust me, they're overfed, but they're malnourished because what they're eating has no nutritional value. So people can benefit so much. Everyone can benefit from this program because it's a psychological program. It's a human growth program, personal development program. We just happen to talk about food a lot, right? But it's really a personal development program. And so many people could benefit from that, whether you're here to lose weight, to gain weight, to get pregnant and create a family, to become a bodybuilder. It doesn't matter. Everyone can benefit from eating from nature and understanding their cravings. So it's a big message, and I'm so glad that you guys are here, my fellow diet rebels. You're here. And we're gonna make a stance, and we're gonna flip the script once and for all. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And I love that we're a diverse crowd too, because it's so different in other parts of the world, right? There's different messages that we're hearing. There's different foods available. It's such a diverse crowd. I absolutely love coaching these. Okay. Does anybody else want to jump in and share? We have about 8 minutes left, so we have lots of time for all of us. Salima? Awesome. Let me make sure you're unmuted. I'm going to click ask to unmute so you can. There you go.
Okay, perfect. So your story kind of really resonated with me when you talked about sort of being seen and heard. Um, so I think I've kind of battled my weight for probably half my adult life. Um, and I've been in various different groups of, I don't know, programs that have attracted me about something or the other. And I kind of look at it not as failure, but maybe it's timing, right? That we learn something from every single program and you kind of take away what sort of resonated with you and what didn't. I think what interests me most about WildFit is what we're talking about is the food psychology. I will be honest, I have signed up for WildFit before, but I found it so overwhelming with the number of people that were in the program. And I find that sometimes I'm kind of this perfectionist where it's like all or nothing. And if I don't start off on the right foot in the beginning, I think it just doesn't sort of work for me. Like it's kind of like you're stepping on uneven ground and then you're just sort of sinking further in. So I was a little hesitant whether or not to like sign up, but I don't know, I just did it. And I really like the fact that we're sort of a smaller group because maybe the universe is sending me some message here, right? Um, but I feel like that the interesting part is I would love to be like a health coach. Like it's the health and wellness field has really I've gravitated to it. It interests me. But what I don't understand is if it interests me so much, why can't I do it? You know, like it's like the two are colliding. And I think that's what I'm here to try to figure out. Um, I do know that I think a lot of what drives me to eat unhealthy is I don't know how to sort of handle stress. And it's the emotional eating part. I think when I start to feel overwhelmed in my life, I tend to gravitate to food. And I kind of, I don't know, had this flashback a few months ago where it was like I was driving and then all of a sudden some incident happened. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to turn to food now. And, that was the kind of the first aha moment for me because I never really thought of myself as an emotional eater before. But I've kind of, over the last several months, really started to kind of dig in. And I feel like it's overwhelmed for me. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting that I do gravitate to the field.
Yeah.
but I just don't know how to kind of like, that's the whole thing. How do you become a health coach if you're not healthy yourself and you kind of can't keep on track?
Well, you know what? This is exactly, you're in the right place, first of all. And thank you for sharing that. So you probably really resonated with me when I was talking about how I wanted to lose weight because I was a fitness instructor and I shouldn't have pudge over my waistband.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. And I can tell you too that health coaches, we're humans at the first and foremost before we're anything else. We're humans. And there are many, many different reasons why some people aren't thin. There's all different, you know, physical reasons, emotional reasons, psychological reasons. And, you know, when you look at the human body, it's extremely complex. And it takes a lot of courage to be on this journey and also be a health coach. I can tell you that most health coaches, we're not perfect, we're not Eric, but we're so much farther ahead than where we were before. And we have so much love and compassion for the world that we want to help everyone. So health coaches, what makes a great health coach, there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is the passion and the desire to help others. And we have, as a society, diet mentality is so strong, right? And we have to find ways to change that narrative in the world so that we can say, you know what, I might not be a size 2 and I might still occasionally have a cupcake, but I am an amazing health coach because I can help others have a freedom from some of their foods that had control over them. And I've had some amazing health stories where I've helped people get off diabetes medications and pain medications and autoimmune conditions medications, and they've reversed some of those conditions. Like, there are so many amazing things that that we as health coaches can witness and share and facilitate for our clients. So please don't ever let that stop you from, if you're drawn to this kind of work, because it's always a journey. It will never end. We're always, as long as we're alive and breathing, our health is always going to be a journey, because the person I was 5 years ago is not the same person I am today. Psychologically, I've changed. Emotionally, I've changed. Physically, I've changed. I'm now in menopause. Like that wasn't the case 5 years ago. So my body is physically and literally not the same person. So we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always learning. And that's what we love about being a health coach. But you're right, though, in the sense that we shouldn't look back at our past diets and experimentations as failures. Absolutely not, because they are learning points. And what I absolutely loved what you said, Salima, was that you had said that you had noticed what works for you and what doesn't. And that's what I love about WildFit, is that we take foundational, fundamental things that we all need to know about our psychology around food, and we figure out, how does this work for me? How can I apply this to my life? So I have something in common with you. When I felt overwhelmed, I would turn to food as well, because I tend to be a little bit of a workaholic. And that's when I noticed that I need to shut work down for a while. As much as I love it, I need to turn it off sometimes and have more room for joy in my life with family and friends. So, oh, sorry, Inga, you've got to jump off. Thank you so much. I know we're getting to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you Wednesday. Calls will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next 2 weeks. But what we learn about ourselves is what works for us. And so, Salima, what I want to remind you of is that, yes, you're in the right place, because this is going to help you psychologically sharpen those tools and still connect with yourself on a deeper level. But also, we are a small group, which is something you might enjoy. And if anyone, not to put the cart before the horse, but this journey can be taken on multiple different levels, right? So if you like small groups, or maybe even one-on-one, you might know that, okay, being in a large group of people is not my cup of tea and it doesn't help support me in what I need. So this is a really powerful exercise that you're starting to learn, and you're all gonna do this over the next couple of weeks, start to figure out what makes you tick, what motivates you, what turns you away, so this is really powerful to know yourself, and then
Mhm.
you get to help yourself because you know what works. Calls at 11:30. I don't know that we can do that because there's other calls happening at the same time, but it's something we can explore. There's another call that starts at noon. So they usually like to get the Zoom link closed out for that next call at noon. But I will find out. But does that make sense, Salima? How you're starting to know what works for you and what doesn't? And I think you kind of answered yourself, like when you said you noticed that it was just the surroundings. Like the program itself probably would have worked great, and it did by the sounds of it. You're not really off track, but you're noticing you just need to sharpen your tools a little bit more. And hey, we all need that from time to time, right? And doing it in a small group, is more supportive for you. So you're more
Mhm.
likely to show up for yourself and follow through,
Mhm.
which is great.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much. And I'm really glad you're here. All right. So we are at the top of the hour, and I just want to recap really, really quickly. So what we're doing this week is we are starting to move through our thinking process, starting to learn our habits. So what we want you to try doing today is to drink more water. So if you normally get, let's say, one, I'll just use my bottle, one of these a day, try to have two or 1.5. If you normally drink 3 of these, try drinking 4. Just try to increase wherever you're at. I'm not going to give you a set amount. Like we could easily say, drink 6 to 8 glasses of water, and that would be great if you could do that. But if that's a big step for you, just try to increase it from where you are, right? This is not a diet. So this isn't about, getting really strict and following a strict set of rules. It's just a guideline for you. So try to up your water content this week. We also want you to really think about your habits. So when you're starting to have your normal foods, and for those of you who haven't watched the video, you've got to watch the video. But we know that we're going to continue eating the foods that we've always eaten. And this is a very, very important step. So if you're an overachiever and you're like, I just want to get on a health program, don't skip this step because you're going to miss the most amazing part of the program. And it makes it harder when you put yourself in situations down the road because you didn't do this work here. Okay. This is how I can have pie in my freezer and not dig into it for 4 months. So do this work. And know it sounds a little woo woo. You might be thinking, oh, I just want to, I just want to cut foods out. I just want to get rid of foods or whatever. Try not to skip this part because this is what all of that other stuff is built on right here, right? Like think about someone building a house. You wouldn't want to skip on the foundation of the house, right? Because the house is built on the foundation. You want to make sure all of that is perfect as can be, because you know that the strength of the house for years to come is supported by that. And that's what we're doing here. So please don't skip this part. But I really want you to focus on your water. I want you to focus on some breathing, because especially if you have a little bit of anxiety about the whole, why are we taking foods away? Why are we still eating our chips and salsa? Why did they tell me to keep having my wine at night? Right? So if you're starting to question that, do a set of 5-5-5 breaths. Remember, that's in the video. We're breathing in for 5 counts. Just count to 5 and then hold that breath for 5 counts and then breathe out for 5 counts. Do that a couple of times a day. Do a couple cycles and you'll immediately feel the difference in your nervous system. You'll notice that you start to feel a little more calm. And that lowers our cortisol, makes us feel so much better. So when you start to feel a little anxious or nervous, go ahead and do that 5-5-5 breath. This is a practice that we're going to continue all week long. And in addition to that, and the water, just observe your diet talk. Like, remember when we were when I was talking about the Snickers bars and I was saying like, oh, I shouldn't have the Snickers bar. Well, who cares? Because I'm going to exercise tonight, teach my night class, and tomorrow I'm going to teach another spin class in the morning. Who cares if I have one Snickers bar? That's a dialogue. I was making a deal with myself. I was trying to justify the fact that I was eating nothing but garbage, you know? So those are all of our dialogues, and we all have them, and they can sometimes be really, really quiet, and they could be really, really fast. Like you don't even know what's happening. It's so fast. But when you slow time down and you really listen to what you're telling yourself, you start to realize, oh, I'm an all or nothing girl. Like if I can't go all the way, I'm not going to bother. Or you start noticing, wow, I'm really motivated by reward systems. Like I think, okay, I taught 3 classes today. I should be entitled to this Snickers bar. So you start to learn about yourself when you start listening to that dialogue. And if you have a little notebook or something in your kitchen, you can write them down, because someday you'll forget all these little conversations. They'll be a good reminder going forward. Sound good, everybody? Okay, awesome. All right, we are a little past the hour. I'm so sorry, but thank you so, so very much. So welcome to the Food Freedom Challenge, where you are going to become the control tower for your food and your life journey, your health journey. You are going to be in control. You're going to be listening to the captain. And you'll hear more about the captain and the crew in the videos for those of you who didn't listen to the video yet. But you are going to be in control, because that's what we're after, right? Not because we're on a strict diet, but because we're going to have things because we want to have them, not because we absolutely can't go without, right? Okay, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll see you all on Wednesday, 11 a.m. I will ask about the 11:30 thing, but 11 a.m. for right now, same link, and it'll be Wednesday and Friday. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.